This video will show how to use the performance and program pages of René. If you are following along, please start by performing the René initialization procedure linked in the video description. René is a Cartesian sequencer, meaning that it sequences not through steps in a line, but rather through locations in a grid. Each location has an X and Y coordinate that can be accessed via the corresponding touch plate. René has two control voltage outputs, the value of which is chosen by knob position at the selected location. The CV output is unquantized analog voltage. The QCV outputs voltage that is quantized to a scale of your choice at 1 volt per octave. It is possible to store and recall 4 sets of QCV voltages, as we'll show when we get to the Q page in this video. A clock in the X clock input causes the location to change horizontally along the X axis, and a clock in the Y clock input causes the location to change vertically along the Y axis. René also outputs gates at the gate X and gate Y outputs whenever it moves along the respective axis. The XCV and YCV controls allow immediate movement through the respective axes. The locations can also be modulated by positive CV in the jack, with the depth of modulation controlled by the input attenuators. For example, as we are using the maths gate here to clock the X-axis, the unity out to the YCV input will allow vertical movement that is in time with the horizontal movement. The top two buttons are used to access the various program pages that allow us to shape these basic behaviors into more complex ones. The left Program 1 button selects pages, and the right Program 2 button exits back to performance mode. The first page is Access. This page sets whether René is allowed to travel to any specific location. If I remove access to the rightmost column of locations, it becomes a 3-step sequence, since the 4th location is inaccessible. Any touch plate that is being touched overrides the access page settings. We can also latch such a selection with the Program 2 button to freeze a sequence temporarily. The next 2 pages are gate pages for the 2 axes. These pages allow you to set which locations will fire gates when they are reached with movement on the respective axis. The X-Fun and Y-Fun pages control the behavior of the axes in several additional ways. The top row designates how the sequence moves: forward, backward, or pendulum. The top right location is for an alternate clocking mode called snake. In snake mode, the X clock clocks both axes in one of a number of stored patterns. In this mode, the Y clock does not clock either axis, but instead selects patterns. So each time we send the Y clock a gate, we switch to a new pattern. See James Sigler's excellent René 101 video linked in the description for a more in-depth look at snake mode. Most of the other locations on these pages tell René what to do when it receives a gate in the mod input for the respective axis. The bottom right 9 locations are logic functions, and we have a separate video dedicated to showing how those work. Please see the link in the description. With clock reset, the mod inputs cause the location to jump back to the left or bottom point on the grid in the last row or column that was touched. With glide enabled, there is Portamento when the value changes at the QCV output. You can enable this to stay on by patching an offset into the mod input. Seek and Sleep tell René how to deal with locations it is not allowed to access. In Seek mode, it jumps immediately to the next accessible location. In Sleep mode, it stays at the same location for as many clocks as it takes to reach an accessible location. See James Sigler's René 401 for a more in-depth look at Seek and Sleep. Finally, we have the Q page. This page only affects the QCV output. On the Q page, the bottom 12 locations correspond to the 12 notes of the Western musical scale. They are labeled accordingly from C to B. The touch plates let you tell René what notes it is allowed to play. For example, by turning off D flat, E flat, G flat, A flat, and B flat, it is locked to the notes of a major scale. In this page, the top 4 touch plates are used to store and recall. Press and hold to store, and you will see the rainbow LEDs blink. This stores the scale settings and all 16 knob locations. Now we can switch back and forth between different stored sets. When one of these storage locations is active, the knobs do not affect the QCV output, since it is reading from memory instead. But the unquantized CV output is still controlled by the 16 knobs. To demonstrate, let's patch the CV out to the fold input, and we can sequence that timbral parameter independently from the sequence of pitches. When you are in performance mode, you can press and hold the ProGraM 2 button to save the settings of access, gate, and function pages so that they will be the same the next time you power up the René. Visit MakeNoiseMusic.com for more information.